Good morning, everyone. My name is Tabata. Welcome to this product webinar from Qualifio, where we will be discussing new features. And by the end, I hope you will know everything about our newest features and also some of our future updates. I hope you are all excited about this topic. I am the product marketing specialist here at Qualifio. And the host of this webinar, and next to me, literally next to me, is sitting Olivier, who is our head of product at Qualifio, and we're very pleased to be with you today.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, so before we get started, I just want to take a moment to review like a few technical details, just so you know how to participate in today's session. The webinar will last around 40 minutes, including Q&A. All participants, so all of you guys are muted during the session just to allow the presentation to go without any interruption. But of course, questions can be submitted at any time. So normally below the image here, you can put your questions related to the content of the webinar. Of course, you can send them at any time. They will come to us and we plan on answering them either live during the session. There will be some time at the end also for Q&A. And if we don't have time to cover all of them, we'll get back to you later via email. I see someone is asking if the meeting is recorded, and yes. So it is recorded. You will get the slides and the recording via email next week. So if you want to share it with your colleagues, that will be possible. And also if you by any chance miss some important points, that's also good to know. And finally, at the end of the webinar, you will get a very short survey just to tell us a bit how we did. Please fill it out because your feedback is very important to us. Yes, we're just waiting for a few more people to join. And in the meantime, we'd like to get a sense of why you guys are all there today among the people attending. And so I have a small poll for you just to get a sense of why you chose to be here today. You can, normally it's supposed to show up on your screen. You can just answer by selecting whichever applies to you. Cool. Okay, so I see most of you are actually here. Yeah, like either because the topic is interesting to you and you're curious about it, or because it was part of your job. So that's good to know. Yeah, we're going to keep it open for like 5 more seconds and then we can show you the results. Yeah. Okay, cool. And okay, so we're going to put up a few questions like this on your screen during the presentation. There won't be too many, but just like to get a sense of what's going on with you. And I suggest we get started with today's agenda. So this is basically like the welcome part, and then we're going to have a short word by our new CEO. And then there will be 2 main parts on the content. It will be first a focus on recent developments. So basically everything that we've been working on for the last month. There will be a live demo by a new export feature and a look at many more optimization that we did on platform. And then the second part will be hosted by Olivier. It's going to be about our future projects, and you will see that there are actually a lot of features coming up that are around how we can comply with the GDPR and privacy features. And then at the end, we will have some time for questions. I just see someone just asked if the recording will be shared, and yes, the recording and the slides of the presentation will be shared at the end. Okay, so without further ado, we will turn over to our guest speaker of today, which is our very own new CEO, Quentin.
Yes, hello everyone, and I'm not alone today. Basically, the whole team in Louvain, the whole Qualifio team is in Belgium for our first physical event since 2 years. So we're quite excited to be here to follow the webinar with you. I saw some familiar names in the chat, so hello to everyone. The goal of today, of course, is to look at the past, what we delivered in the last few months, but also what are we going to do in the coming months. So as always, your feedback is super appreciated. We like to be challenged. We like to receive your ideas. So don't hesitate to contact us, and we wish you from all the company a very nice webinar. See you soon.
Thank you, Quentin. So yeah, brand new CEO for Qualifio and also a lot of other new things. Let's dive in. So the first thing that we want to mention today is that we have rebuilt the photo editor. So it's basically the same campaign type as you've always known. Basically what we did is that we mainly worked on the user experience. So the experience is different. It's a new interface, as you can see here. It's now really perfect for mobile users. And of course, with the same core features, which is participants can crop and rotate their photos, and they can add graphics such as stickers, which you can see on the picture here, perfect for Christmas, and frames. So this is already available to all of you for all of the campaigns. So it's going to work either if you create a new campaign or even if you duplicate like an existing one. So this is the first thing. And then this is going to be like the big piece for today. We have a brand new export feature, which basically allows you to export specific participations coming from multiple campaigns. So this is not like the campaign statistics where you can just export everything that's related to this campaign. It's really a new way to export data where you first select the campaigns that you want to take into account, and then you can refine the data further with a bunch of filters. For example, here on the screen, you see you can filter using the optins. So basically, okay, I want to export all the participations coming from the campaigns that are on a specific website or in a specific language or a bunch of languages. And I want all the participations where the participant checked a specific opt-in. So this is a brand new capability, and it's going to be ideal mainly for all of your new campaigns. So we did a lot of changes also to how we store the data, and this feature is only going to have like all of the data from October 1st, meaning it's not going to work with your super old campaigns, but for all the campaigns that you're going to publish from now on, you will be able to use it. You can export everything either in a CSV or Excel file. And as an add-on, you can even export data in like a custom defined file structure, where basically you can just say, okay, I want this data and this data and this data in a specific order in the columns of my Excel file. This is going to be an add-on that can come at a specific cost though, but once you have the template, you can use it as many times as you want. And it also comes with like a second screen that is called the export request, where basically you can see like a history of all the exports that you have requested since the beginning. You can see the current status of every export. And each time you do a new one, it's going to add it on top of the page. So this feature is available to all accounts, all plans. You can find it in the CRM area of your account. And to protect your data, of course, it's not available to all users, and only admin users have access to this feature. Now, in the presentation, I have provided a link to documentation, so you can see everything in details. But I think we can start with a live demo of how this feature works so you can get a better sense of the experience.
Yes, thank you, Tab. So indeed, let's dive in. Sorry, let's dive in directly. And I have a lot of things in front of my tabs, which is not making my life easy here. But let's dive in. It's not just screenshots and picture here. So well, I believe this is a screen that you all know with a bit more campaigns, of course. But then it's in a place where we have gathered all the data part. So you see here a new section. And you can see it already, well, after this webinar, of course, because you're super attentive at looking at the presentation. We can see here a participation export, which is basically the screen that Tabata just showed. So here you will get these selectors. So they can be a bit difficult to start with, but once you get the logic, it's really going to be quite easy to use. So first you will be using a first criterion, and which is the extent, really all the campaigns that you want to target with these exports. So here can target, as Tabata said, on the website, on a specific campaign or a set of campaigns. So if you're making campaign, a set of 10 Christmas campaign, or your campaign for the advent calendar, then you can export all the data at once. Only the French-speaking campaign, the currently active campaign, that can be also a possibility. But here, for the example, let's say you're choosing one of your websites, so all the campaign from a specific website. Say you have a website which is called Alphabet. You can see you could use several websites. For the example here, let's just use one. And you will continue to the next step, which is within these campaigns, you will do some filters. Indeed, depending on your need, you do not need necessarily all the data. So let's add a filter here. It's exactly the same logic, but they are different. It's not on the campaign, on the website, etc. Maybe you want to do it on a specific mapping variable. So you want to target all the user who have a specific variable, which is interest, which are empty. Indeed, maybe you know all the other interests, and that is something that is very valuable to you. And so you want to do a remarketing campaign on people which you don't know enough yet. And you can say, I'm going to be using a second criterion, which is the people who have actually checked the opt-in. So they've checked a specific opt-in, which IDs you can find in the back office. Let's just put a random one. So in this case, you are going to be targeting from all the campaign that have occurred on the Alphabet website, only the people who have no interest, but are okay that you contact them. As you can see here on the top, it's also quite flexible because you can say it's both filters, both criterion, or you can set the or, and here is either the variable is empty, either the opt-in is checked here. And you can also really be much more flexible with groups of criteria, so that can be really, really powerful here. For the sake of the example, I will not go too deep in the criterion. And then, well, quite easily, you will quite understandably give a specific name to find it back in your export screen. So say this is the export of the 7th of October for your remarketing campaign. I currently have just one template, and I'm going to be using a specific file name because potentially you're going to be uploading it to your CRM or to whatever system. So here I'm going to be naming it Qualifio and using the date of today to really have this specific date, this specific format here that is already in place. And you can decide to use a CSV or an Excel file. Once I'm doing it, then I can click the confirm export and I will get a notification. Compared to before, the file is not automatically, directly in a second, I would say, generated. But this really allows us to be able to export larger amount of data, which if you are a heavy user of Qualifio can sometimes be a bit long. So now you go to the requests page, and well, bad luck here, I was a bit too restrictive, so it was quite fast in any case. And I have not found any data, but otherwise it's preparing. And you can see also, you can just very easily download the files when they are ready. You've downloaded the file, of course. Well, as I said, it's not downloaded directly. We will also send you an email which will say, okay, look, your export is now ready. You can go and download it right away. And so this is exactly the type of email that you will be receiving, so that you can do your export, continue working on your Qualifio campaign, and come back a minute or two later once the export has been generated. And yeah, so that's about it for the campaign. Sorry, for the export of the participations. Well, please feel free to add any comment, question that you may have for well, the rest and in the end of the presentation.
Yeah, and we actually got a couple of questions of things that I just want to clarify. So Martin asks if this is available to all users or only admin and marketeers, and so it's only available to admin users. There was also like a slight confusion around like the add-on that I mentioned. So this feature is going to be included. It's included, it's available on all the accounts, all the plans, all the licenses. The only add-on which you can get, but it also like works very well without it, is if you need like a custom defined template. So really like a custom structure in your file where you want to prepare it in a specific way for mapping the data to an external system later on. Can you access the export that someone else made?
Yes, you can. If you're an admin, you can indeed access the export that somebody else made. Yeah. So that it's also possible that you are struggling a bit with it. Of course, your support team can help you out. Your CSM, depending on your plan, can help you out, obviously. But well, of course, it's much more easier if you can do it on your own, so that you can really repeat that over and over again. And maybe there's one slide item, one small item I forgot to show, which can be quite interesting, is that in every export that you made, there is a summary to find back, okay, which were the filters, which were the campaign that I selected, etc. So all the settings are back here on read-only mode, so that if you want to reproduce it, then that's very easy.
And this is particularly useful if, like in the example that we gave, like there was no data that was found for all of your filters, because that allows you to kind of review the selection that you made and kind of find where the gap lies. We also have another question that asks if it's possible to set up like an automated export at a specific time. So not currently. This is something that we have been thinking about, but that is not currently available in the platform. But definitely, this is something.
Yeah, not via this module. These are things that are possible, not via this module, not as flexible as here. That's of course something that we would like to do in the future. Unfortunately, that's not something that we've been able to package together with this feature. But that's of course that would be very valuable.
And then maybe one last question, and then like the rest is going to be for the end and the Q&A. We have Eric who asks if we would consider an export format in JSON or XML, so which is not available today, but
we can discuss with the IT team whether that is something that could be easily done or not, and depending on it, we'll certainly come back to you.
Okay, so maybe we can go to the next topic. So we also got a bunch of customers who have given us feedback about how sometimes tricky or a bit uneasy it was to report on opt-in rates and opt-in conversions. And so we have been working around that as well. We also know that most of our customers use Qualifio opt-ins not only for like marketing or email opt-ins, but the opt-ins are also often used for legal stuff or like partner or advertisers, and you don't want to report on all of these opt-ins the same way, right? So what we have come up with is first categories of opt-ins. So we have been building this feature that basically allows you to assign one or more categories to each opt-in. Sorry. The default parent categories are the 4 ones that you can see on screen. So there is one for your newsletters, one for your partners, one for everything that's about like legal and rules and maybe privacy, and like a 4th section that is just called others if you have other categories or purposes that you want to highlight. And then you can create your own subcategories. So you will be able to add as many as you want, but they have to fit in one of the main categories that we built. And yeah, so you can either choose like a default one or have your own, it's up to you. And why do you need to only create subcategories that will all fit these main categories? It's because it's for reporting. So I was saying it's sometimes a bit complicated to report on opt-ins in Qualifio. And so now you will be able to build reports with number of opt-ins collected in each category. So as you can see here in a campaign statistic dashboard, you will see for each category of opt-ins how many you have collected. So this is really going to help you to understand how effective a campaign or all of your campaigns are in building email lists, but also different objectives. So yeah, there are 2 places where you will be able to see these new metrics, I would say, or new analytics. The first one is in the campaign dashboard. The way it works is basically as long as you have not collected any opt-in in the campaign, you won't see anything in the dashboard because, well, everything would be 0. But as soon as you have collected at least 1 opt-in, you will see all of the categories. So you can know at any time, okay, maybe I have 0 opt-ins for marketing or 0 opt-ins for partner opt-ins, but I know that for this and this category, I have collected that many opt-ins. And coming soon, because we're still in the middle of building it, you will also be able to see this kind of reports in your global stats dashboards. So basically, you will see the total number of opt-ins by category, and you will be able to filter it, well, using all the filters that you know in the global stats. So by campaigns, by website, by dates, and all of this, but it's going to be coming soon. Yeah, so that's about it for the opt-ins. While we're at it, we are also building a process for double opt-ins in Qualifio to really allow you to comply with data privacy laws on all markets. We know that, for example, a lot of customers in Germany really need this type of process. So basically, you will be able, for each opt-in that you have in Qualifio, to decide whether it's like a single opt-in or double opt-in process and trigger this kind of confirmation email with Qualifio. So this works with push integrations. So it's not like, we're not going to be an emailing tool, definitely not. But what like our position is really to help you to comply with any data like privacy regulations. So here, essentially what it does is that it's going to delay the push of your data to, say, your CRM, and participants need to confirm their opt-in or not before we push the data. So let me rephrase this. Basically, you decide, for example, okay, the confirmation link must be clicked in I don't know, maybe 1 day or the delay that you want. And after that, either it is expired or it is confirmed. And it's only at that point that we're going to push the data. So you have this kind of status where you know if the person confirmed their opt-in or not. Of course, this template that you can see where you can set up the opt-in email, the confirmation page and the expiration page, you can do that for every brand. So every website, because obviously you're going to need different brandings. So we have a question about the opt-in categories, which is essentially how can I assign a category to an opt-in when an opt-in is, or like how does an opt-in end up in a category? So it's going to be super easy when you edit your opt-in, like when you do now, when you want to change the text or you want to change the logo or the type of selector, you will have a choice, which is basically to say it's a single opt-in or it's a double opt-in.
And it was also for the category, so we will have a drop down as well. Because I think it's for the previous topic, we'll have a drop down to say this is a specific marketing opt-in, or if you have created subcategories, this is a SMS opt-in, which is really underlying in the newsletter marketing category.
Yeah, so everything is really centralized in the interface that you already know. There is no like big new interface for assigning this type of things. And so, yeah, it shouldn't be super hard to find. Okay. Okay, while we are on the subject of pushing data, another new capability that we have developed is to be able to push data coming from incomplete participations. So previously, how it worked is that we would only push participations which were completed. So completed meaning in most cases that the form has been submitted.
And that the participant has reached the exit screen.
Yes, so which means that you were kind of missing on a bit of data, because sometimes you get people who come to your survey or your contest and they're going to leave halfway. So now using your push integration, like the new webbook, but it could be another data push, you can decide which types of participations we should push to your external system. So as you can see, there are 4 options, but basically is the default behavior is going to be the same. So basically we don't push incomplete participations, but you can also decide to say, yeah, but if the participant just submitted the form and then didn't do anything else, like I still want to get this data. Or if the participant only answered like 1 question, I still want to get this data, even if I don't have like any contact details for them. So this is basically the type of granularity that it gives you. And yeah, you will basically get more data into your systems. So yeah, like I put here, you can get data from questionnaire, even if the participant didn't fill the form. Yeah. Okay, so something that we mentioned to you in our last webinar was also this idea of a secure token. So this is like a bit technical, and for maybe the tech or the tech savvy people among us, we're referring to a JSON web token. But basically, the feature that it adds is that you can pass external data to a Qualifio campaign without putting all this data in Qualifio. This is a bit maybe obscure for some people here, so let's think of practical use cases. There are 2 ways that you can use it today, but this is the limit. So the first one is a new way to limit people who can participate to your campaign. So, you know, in Qualifio, you can decide, okay, I only want people to participate once per week, for example. Here, we're more referring to who can participate to your campaign. So the example that I put here is basically a purchase to enter contest. So if you can pass data to the Qualifio campaign that says basically, okay, this person didn't buy anything on my website for the last 6 months, I don't want them to get access to our super exclusive contest. Okay, so this is kind of the example that is here. But it could also work that you're able to tell us, okay, this person is a paid subscriber or is not a paid subscriber, and I want to get like super exclusive, and this is like a paid member only content. And we don't need to get all of this data. Like we just need to get the token that tells us, yes, this person can participate, no, this person cannot participate, or yeah, they can participate, but they can only participate 3 times. So obviously this is something, just to be clear, that you need to compute on your end. So we're not going to be able to do all the calculation for you, but if you can pass us this token, then we can adapt like the display and the content of the campaign depending on the data we receive. It's also a bit more secure way to pre-fill forms. So if you don't want to use like a pre-fill URL, which we already have, you can also use the token to pre-fill the form with data that you already know on the users who are visiting your campaign. Yeah.
So of course, this is a bit technical. So if you have any further questions, feel free to contact us, and we'll be very happy to help you out set up this very specific feature.
Okay, so more smaller but super mighty improvement that we made. You may or may not have noticed. So a few months ago, we removed our co-registration feature. The main reason we did that is it wasn't used like a lot. And also this was a very old feature, and the market has evolved. There are players who do that way better than us. And of course, it's still possible to have like different connectors to your co-registration tool with Qualifio. So it doesn't prevent you from doing co-registration campaigns in Qualifio, but we kind of removed the native tool that we had. It was a bit, old, I would say. It is also possible now to reactivate expired users. So previously, each user has like an expiry date in Qualifio, and usually we just calculate that by taking the date where they last logged into the platform. And if they don't log in for a year after that, they are just like an expired account. Of course, you can also set like a manual expiry date that says, okay, this person, they have access to my Qualifio account for 2 weeks and then not anymore. But when a user is expired, previously, it wasn't possible to reactivate them. They were just expired. And if they had to get access again, you would have to actually delete their account and create a new one, which was not like what we wanted. It was not super easy. So now we just have the option to reactivate a user in like 2 clicks. A bit of improvements also coming for the catcher and runner games. So in both cases, it is now possible to display an end message that is based on the scoring, a bit like we have in the quizzes in Qualifio. So you can say, okay, if this person has more than, 200 points, then they have this specific message at the end. And for the runner games, now on mobile, it's also possible to play in a landscape mode. Which is a bit of a better experience. And finally, if you're into tracking, you can note that it's now possible to install TikTok and Snap pixels inside a Qualifio campaign, thanks to our very own tracking framework. So now we have a small poll for you, because this is all that we have been working on, and it would mean a lot to us if you can maybe provide like a very short feedback on it, and just to get like a general sense of how appealing all of these features are for you. We're going to wait a few seconds so that everyone can give their opinion. Okay, so I see the vast majority of people, so it's either like somewhat appealing or very appealing. So this is good news. Okay, just maybe like 5 more seconds so that everyone can vote. Okay. Okay, thank you for feedback. And maybe now I will let the mic to Olivier.
Yes, all right. A glimpse into the future. So here, let's go. So what we are going to be building in the next couple of months, basically the first thing is really an added protection for in terms of user management. we are building the two-factor authentication. So I do believe that most of you know what it is because you're most probably using it with maybe Microsoft, Google, whatever system that you use to log in into your own identification system. And that's something that we are adding really to Qualifio. So when there's really an additional level of security for if in case the password is compromised, etc. So really protect your account. You use the password or the single sign-on that works with both technologies, and a code that you will get on your phone and that you will need to write in to really log into Qualifio. This feature will be possible to either do on a case by case for the user. So you possibly want only to do that for the admins because in your account, they are the only one who can export data. So you believe that they are really the one that should be protected, and you don't want the login process to be too long, too complex for the other users, depending also a bit on who they are. Or you really want to protect everybody the same way, so you can enable and force every user, every single user of your account to have this two-factor authentication. And so that's will be developed in the coming months. Then there is another feature that we are going to be working on, is basically the retention policy. So at this moment in time, you can only set one retention policy for all your account, all your campaigns. Yet we've seen that this creates some problems, because we do see that some customers, they would like to really have a low default the retention policy, because most of their campaigns, most of their data, they are being pushed to external system. So they don't want to keep it in Qualifio, which absolutely makes sense. So they would like to really keep a quite low default retention policy, but for some specific campaign, which lasts a bit longer, they need to draw winners, for instance. So they need to keep that data for these campaigns just a bit longer. So we really are going here to be able to make some kind of exception on campaign base, so that you will be able to say, okay, by default, I'm keeping the data for 2 weeks, for a month in Qualifio, but maybe for the Christmas campaign, I'm going to be keeping it for 2 months, month and a half, really to be able to draw the winners and contact them afterwards. So that will be settings that will be manageable by the DPOs, because of course this is quite sensitive and important information. You do not want anybody to change that retention policy, because it can be changed on the campaign level for a lower, a shorter period or a longer period. So that's quite important that only the DPOs have that access. But that's going to be quite easily changeable in the tool and help you remain, well, GDPR compliant we were already, but more flexible in the treatment of data here. Then we have a big topic about cookie tracking, etc. So we do know that we have a lot of customers who are implementing and using cookie and remarketing. I talked about it earlier, but so you're using Snap Pixel, TikTok Pixel, Facebook Pixel, Google Analytics. I think I can name them for a full webinar if you want me to, but that's not the goal. Here, we've seen that Qualifio is quite flexible to let our user implement it, but it comes with a downside. It's that you can lose a bit track of what is done where, and maybe not be quite in line with what you want to add as level of security. So of course, it's currently possible to have a CMP, so content management platform, integrated in your Qualifio campaigns, but you don't always have control over what all your users have. And we do know that a lot of our customers have a lot of users, and they really need to make sure that well, this is treated with the appropriate level of security. So we are going to be implementing what we call a tracking library, so that the admins will be able to define all the tags, all the tracking that can be implemented in Qualifio campaign. So that will be a specific tracking for the Facebook pixel of the Alphabet website, if I take my example from before, with, of course, a sufficient level of customization, optimization to make sure that this specific pixel is only triggered when you are submitting the form, when you are on, when you have checked the specific opt-in, etc. So that this level of customization will remain, but centralized. And besides that, we're also going to make it easy to add your consent management platform, so your cookie wall, so that really, if one user is on your campaign, they have the possibility to say, yes, I want to be, yes, I want to accept the marketing cookies, or no, I don't want to, and the cookie will behave, the tracking will behave accordingly. So we're going to be working with some CMP, the transparency consent framework, for the one who are a bit into this kind of technology. And really to help you comply with cookie laws who are there and who are really about to come, as you probably know. Then we have also here, it's really also related to data quality and easiness to fill a form. Sometimes you have quite some long forms, and especially when you are asking for the address, because you are making a sampling campaign. So having a correct address is super key. You are paying a lot of money to get your sample right. If you are sending them to a wrong address, then that's really a pity. So we are integrating with a French software, DQE. I basically don't know how to pronounce a French name in English. So yeah, we can put you in contact with them to really speed up the entry time to the postal addresses. So here, as you can see, if I live on the number 8 of Boulevard Giraud in Marseille, I can put part of the address, and it will automatically pre-fill all the fields at the right places, so the address, the house number, the zip code, etc., and validate the data. So really, the input of the address is much easier, and you are sure that you have correct data inputted here for the postal addresses.
Okay, we have a question that comes at the same time from different people about DQE, is to ask how many countries they support and which countries these are. So
they are quite vast. They are being supported in Belgium, in the Netherlands as well, in France, obviously. To be honest, I don't remember all the full scope, but they are quite present in many countries. So we will get in touch with the ones that are requesting specifically to see if their country is being on the software covered by DQE. And then yeah, it's a bit similar to the last item presented by Tabata, but well, for a lot of time now, you've been able to authenticate users participating in your campaign with the SSO. Now you can really decide if you want to grant them access because you only want to grant access to paying customers, etc., or to a specific segment which is identified by your SSO, so that only members can get access to campaigns, etc. So that's really something that is going to be released in the next months.
Okay, so I think we have like one last poll for you. It will be the last one, and then we will take some time for Q&As.
For those who want, because we're already a bit out of time, very sorry about it. But yeah, so if you can take just a couple of seconds to answer the poll, and you can already write your questions down.
We have a couple
if you
questions. So one of them is asking regarding like the cookies consent, whether this means that, for example, an editor will still be allowed to insert an iframe the content of the campaign.
So we are currently checking on exactly how to implement that. We don't want to make it impossible, of course, because this is something that is quite important in the campaigns. So we have a lot of customers who are using videos inside their Qualifio campaigns. So we need to find the right level of flexibility here to make sure this is secured but still usable. So you will be able to still use these videos and different iframes. It depends on what's in the iframe, of course. But yeah, that may be slightly more complicated, but we're still in the final definition on how we are going to be building this.
So it's an awesome time to ask the question.
It's a very good time to ask a question, but we had foreseen it. So
yeah,
thank you.
And then Michael asks if the data retention period, if you set it up at the campaign level, is it going to be, if it, for example, you put it at 2 weeks, is it going to be 2 weeks after the participant actually registered for the campaign, or is it going to be 2 weeks or 2 months? I don't remember. Basically, it's going to be based on the campaign finish date.
No, it's going to be based always on the participation time. So basically, once one person participates, we take this specific retention period so that we know, it's going to be 6 months, 2 weeks, and this is how it's really handled.
Okay, so it looks like we have covered all of the questions.
If you have more, please send them to us via email, definitely via Zendesk. You know, we have a lot of people available to help you out.
Yes. So really, you can reach us at any time at product@qualifio.com or on LinkedIn, whichever you prefer. Either way, it really matters to us. You can also find more at any time on our blog at qualifio.com, or you can also make friends with us on your preferred social media. Thanks again for joining us, and see you next time.
Thank you all. It was really a pleasure to host this webinar and see that many participants. It's really good for us and really helps us drive for Qualifio. Thank you.